that the meeting is recorded. First item of discussion is on the election IQ and the quotes that we've received. And Lisa, do you want to discuss these?
Basically, it's just, my election support on election day, and they check over my ballot. They listen to the audio, they double check everything so that when the ballots appear on the machines, everything's going to be positioned correctly and stuff. They've been doing it for years for me. One quote's for spring election, one quote's for fall election.
Okay. And then they're here to support you during this?
Yeah, they come on, they're with me on election day.
Okay.
And they usually, Michael usually will be the one that goes out to the precincts if there's anything major that we can't fix, like over the phone. He'll go out to the precincts for me so I can stay here and field phone calls and stuff.
Does that involve like checking machines or?
Nope.
So it's just ballot or election
It's
related?
just ballot and election related, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
How often do they go out or have gone out?
It depends. The machines are getting old.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think for the presidential election, he might have went out 2 or 3 times maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So
he'd go out, like, can you give an example of like a typical situation where he went out?
say a printer, one of the printers on the voting machines wouldn't print, and we walk through every possible scenario why they wouldn't over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And if we still can't get him to work, then he'll go out and he'll fix the machine.
Okay.
And usually it's just something really simple that poll workers aren't listening.
So there is some technical work being done.
Absolutely. And they know the ballot, hardware and software and, that kind of stuff, so.
Just out of curiosity, are there several companies that do this type of work?
We could actually have Dominion do it. I go with Election IQ because with Dominion, you have to have 3 days of election support. You're paying them to travel here on Monday, and then they're here with you on Tuesday, then you pay them to travel back on Wednesday, and you're paying their hotel. Where I can have just 1 day election support, I don't need anybody here on Monday, and I don't need anybody here on Wednesday. I know what I'm doing, so I just need somebody here to back me up on election day.
Okay.
And he helps me in the back after the polls close. He's usually scanning the ballots, and I'm uploading cards, or vice versa. He kind of lends me a hand. But when we leave on election night, he goes back to the hotel and he goes home the next day.
Okay.
Where Dominion, you don't have that choice. It's 3 days.
Okay.
So that's
so
kind
there's
of
two. You're saying you have
two choices.
two to choose from. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That we're aware of.
Well, see, with Dominion, we'd have to, because we have Dominion as our provider, we'd have to stick with Dominion. We couldn't have ES&S come in and give us election support.
Yeah.
So it's either
Because
Dominion,
of the machines.
right?
Yeah.
It's either Dominion or it's
Right.
Election IQ.
Okay. So you're saying the cost would be greater with Dominion?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
All right.
much greater because you have to have the 3
3
days.
days. All right. Thank you, Lisa.
And they're, these guys are available. I pick up the phone and I'm doing my ballot and I can't get the layout right or whatever. I call them and they're like right there. And okay, let's try this, and they never charge me for any of that over the phone stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
They're like my help desk too when I'm creating the ballot, and when they're double checking, they double check all my spelling, and because I send them everything that I use to create the ballot, and then I record the audio, and then they come here and listen to the audio. So,
Okay.
and then make sure that the scanners and everything are working and ready for election night.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. Do either of you two have anything to ask, Lisa?
This is just what we did last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
You're welcome to stay.
I'm gonna go because I think you do.
I'll open the floor to whoever wants to discuss anything they have on their minds.
I have some project updates. Last time I come over here and get it. All right. Tech Incubator met with the city last week about a couple of properties that they have, or thinking of potentially doing some sort of a combined effort. in terms of applying for RCAP dollars, since what we're planning on doing is similar enough that maybe the state would look favorably on the fact that the city and the county would work together. Don't really have any details yet on properties and wouldn't want to release them anyway, but either way, the collaboration with the city is looking good. Nancy and Mayor Cashman both came over and were both very helpful in planning out what we might do together. On the eye tracker, we've got the first few forms installed. Colby's done a great job of spending a lot of hours in terms of getting it all up and going. We are about ready to launch. What I'll do is send out a mass email explaining how to use like the maintenance form as the first example. And I think we're going to try to have like the link installed as a thumbnail on everyone's desktop, just so that all they have to do is click that and then click maintenance request.
Shortcut.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
And IT still has a couple of bugs to work out for us. Pam and I tried it, was that Friday?
Mm-hmm.
And still have some minor issues. They'll be able to work through it, but that's the updates. So maintenance is done, an employee review is done, an exit interview is done. I believe the interview, like the initial interview one, is also done. So one thing I'd like to ask is that the last couple of employees that have retired, I'm wondering if we can't bring them back for an hour or two just to have them go through and give us any feedback, because no technical exit interview was done. Now, the point of doing the exit interview is twofold. First of all, make sure that they have all the information and we have all the keys and stuff like that that they've been issued. The second part is in order to get any information that we need out of them in order to understand how the department runs, whether there's issues there that we need to deal with and that sort of thing. And so obviously part one has been done if they've already been retired and left. But part two, we could still glean a little information from them. And it would also help me just make sure that we ran through once or twice just to make sure it works right.
Can we do that just through a phone interview? I mean, that's
Yeah, I don't see why not.
something that we could just, make those calls in an afternoon with the same
Yeah.
call sheet questions.
I would also think it'd be like 2 people.
Yeah, so maybe there's a handful.
Yeah. So anyway, all that's going well. Hazmat, the overhaul itself, Sergeant Deppin and I and Todd Lake and Wanda Smith met and went over some things we want to change in the LEPC. We had the LEPC board meeting last week. Nothing really came of it that I think you need to be aware of, except that we're making good progress. The doors at the 911 center, at the warehouse where the hazmat vehicles are stored have been installed, and they're going to open them up on Thursday, which means hopefully by our next work session we could even have all that stuff finally moved over. I made a joke at the LEPC meeting that Brian Ferry at least found funny, so hopefully it ends up in AfterThoughts, which was that we started this project, LEPC meeting on a Thursday or whatever.
No pressure, Ben, but this is being recorded, just so you know.
I'm just telling you. But, so anyway, the request to move was made on like a Thursday, and on Friday, Matt Nordine, myself, I think Pam actually even came out, because this was when we started cleaning up the warehouse. Like, we were there the next day working on this thing, had a plan in place, and I just wanted to point out that that was the private sector that has held us up for the last like 2 months.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, fiscal code, still haven't met with Judy, I'll do that sometime soon. Long-term capital plan, economic development plan, that's something that, I'm not sure when Dan wants to do that. Has he spoken with either of you about the 10-year plan?
I think that he's spoken about it in general terms. So
Yeah, but I haven't heard of like, we're gonna start working on it. So I'll have to get with him at some point. School resource officer, still don't have a contract from the county, or from the school district. Procedures and work instructions, Colby and I are writing them as it pertains to the eye tracker thing, so we're starting to make some progress on that. Phones, great success. So the ones over at jail 911 are going very well. This is one of those areas where we're having huge success, and I'm still not sick of it. Come on, Jeff.
There's bebop and scout all over the place.
We are porting over the MDJ offices, and AOPC will be able to pay for it. And then PACES is able to pay for the investment in the phones for domestic relations. So that means basically we're going to be reducing our overall cost in terms of usage by just moving to a VoIP system. We'll be getting a better system, and where we thought we were going to be making a major investment in phones, actually it's looking like a massive part of it is actually going to be paid for by the state. So that was something that we didn't even plan on when we made the budget, but you know, now we're probably looking at reducing that. What was it, like 60,000 we thought we'd have to invest in that? It's probably down around 45 at this point. So it's great news. Annex building, no update. Obviously the weather's for the last couple of days been good enough to work on that roof, but who knows, as soon as they started working on it, no doubt we'd get more snow, so that's still gonna have to wait. Matt put up a security wall, which is a great idea, so that when people come into Judge Carlson's office, they'll have two options. One will be going directly to the window, the other will be entering a doorway. So that doorway can now be locked, whereas before you could walk directly in and have immediate access to the judge and the courtroom. That is no longer the case. So I wanted to thank Matt for taking the initiative on. I mean, Judge Carlson requested it, but Matt didn't even like come to us. He was just like, "Can do this in a couple days," so knocked it out.
That seems pretty straightforward to me because it's just like shutting that corridor off.
Yep. So
Good.
Did a great job. Project management software, I did not do anything about that this week. Last week, oh, but you guys weren't here at the work session last week. So I met with the company Rhythm, and they did a demo for me on some project management software that comes out to a little bit over $1,000 a month. So I'm not sure that it's worth doing, but I'm convinced that it would be helpful to at least give it a try, so I want to maybe try it for a couple months. I'll get a proposal together and have them pitch you. But this would basically be software that would have an HR component as well as a project management component, in that you identify the vision, the mission, whatever, for specific departments, create key KPI, what is the K? Key performance indicators, thank you. Yeah. I literally got no sleep last night because I rested up too much this weekend and I couldn't sleep. So, I'm a little out of it. So it ties KPIs directly to goals of employees and then forces like a weekly update on it. And so this could be really helpful because right now we have old, outdated job descriptions for most of our employees. And maybe they don't have to be all revamped, but there are certainly modifications that we want to make. The other thing is they're not tied to any kind of metric. And so employees have the disadvantage of never really knowing how they're doing. And we also have no idea when it comes to requests for more funding or something as to whether it's worth the investment. So if we could tie KPIs directly to employees' job descriptions, and we'd have a metric, and they could understand in a very unbiased way how they're doing compared to what they're supposed to be doing. And the flip is for us, we'll be able to evaluate that as well. So I want to pitch the software to you at some point.
It's somewhat related. I have it occurred to me the other day that I have a boilerplate review document that has that stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't, I'll email it to you.
Yeah, why don't you send it to me and
you guys
send it
can
to
look
Colby.
at it and see what you think.
Send it to Colby too. So we've already created one based on one that my company developed, but if there's any wisdom in yours that's missing from ours, then let's incorporate it. ERP solution. I have been talking somewhat with Mr. Isaacs, I can't remember his first name, from New World, and he's our new rep. I don't really know what happened, but it sounded like the rep that we had got replaced, and then he got replaced and moved to a different section. So we've got a new guy, And the new guy is much more responsive in following up with us. He gave us that quote
This
last.
is the Tyler thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the Tyler New World software. And he's the one that set up our Jefferson County meeting, which is on Thursday. So I'm planning on going down to Jefferson County in order to see their software in action, ask any questions that we have about it. And then I believe Pam is coming. I'm not sure if either of you two are coming.
I'm not able to come Thursday.
Okay.
Go with you guys.
Judy, I'm not sure.
I have it on my schedule to go. I asked Pam about it earlier. I said, so where are we going to Jefferson County? And she said that it had to do with Tyler, and that's what I assumed because we had had a conversation at some point in the past about that they have
this full-blown software there.
So what level of solution does Jefferson County have? Like, do they have just the fiscal software, or do they have the?
I believe it's the complete ERP, so it would be the financial and human resources.
Okay.
I don't know if they have assessment. I'm not sure that we would really want to look at assessment right now anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they're using public safety, but that's not something the commissioners are really going to weigh in on anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
so this is and besides that, if you look at all the things that Total Tyler can offer, the one that I think the gem in the center that we have to worry about first would be the financial ERP system.
Yeah.
Because AccuFund, as you well know, is lackluster at best, and I don't need to land-base the issue, but there's no point in investing more, in my opinion, in it, primarily because the user interface is so terrible. So this again is just looking at the financial ERP and as it pertains to HR, so that we can save all kinds of time on reporting, both in terms of HR and fiscal offices, and also allow other people access to, like right now it's limited to licenses, whereas I believe there's at least a certain level on Tyler where you can let like anybody on. Mm-hmm. So if it's you can let everybody, for instance, submit a purchase order or something, whereas right now it has to be done on paper.
Yeah. Well, and there's also opportunity because the reporting is better, to find more ways to save.
Absolutely, absolutely. By the way, did you want to put OpenGov on here as one of your things that you were looking at?
I don't want to put it on like an ongoing list. I think it's something that I continue to research. I think that's something that I'd want to come up with a proposal for.
Okay.
Just generally.
Good, that's all my projects.
So let's see. Well, I just wanted to let you guys know that there was an issue with data on the assessment information that's online. The system wasn't updating properly, and as a result, there was some old data that was up on the site. So,
how was it found?
well, basically, we got a complaint. Somebody had emailed. Somebody emailed me and Karen and said, "Hey, I sold this house, 2 months ago, and why is it still showing up as I own it?" And so, and I think the assessment department gotten several other complaints. So we contacted Vision and basically worked with them to get the information updated on the site, and then also to change the process by which the information is updated. We had relied on them to update the information, and since they haven't been as responsive as we'd like them to be. Basically, we're talking about shifting to a system where we update it, or we upload the data through our system, so that we can update it at our discretion rather than relying on them to update it. And this is based a lot on the responsiveness issues we've had with them when it comes to that. So in case anybody asks you about it, I just wanted to let you know.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to you guys about putting together a proposal to put out a request to have somebody come in and evaluate the boiler and put together a technical document that we can then use to get an RFP for the replacement. Matt obviously got a quote from a company to do a wholesale replacement of the boiler system, and I think that quote was some $600,000, and I think that I think this runs along the same lines as the other situations we deal with where we're going to do maintenance on something, we're going to do a replacement, and basically the initial quotes that we do or the initial contact we have with the company is too general, and so as a result their pitch to what they want to do for us is you know, the full I need to say, I can only use terms that are inappropriate. I need to stop doing that. Is the complete package, if you will, of whatever they can do. And so I think that if we, in the same way, like with the roof and some of the other projects we've done where we get it, we put a request out to get an engineer in, you know, to bid the job, however, to have them come in and then do an evaluation, a proper evaluation of the boiler, and to determine what literally needs to be replaced and what can be repaired. I think that whatever money we were to spend on that to get a technical document to then use as for an RFP on the boiler would save us more than we would end up paying for it, like for the request. So the other thing is I scheduled the weekly maintenance meetings with Matt and Doug and Ken. That'll start next week because Thursday is the Jefferson trip, so it'll start on Thursdays at 3:30. If we need to change that, that's fine. But that first meeting, I figured we could have that conversation with Matt, or we could have conversations around that, around the various maintenance issues that are ongoing, and then also talk about some things that have popped up. I want to, part of that conversation, and this goes along kind of with the boiler and some of the other maintenance issues, is have a conversation with them about some of the service contracts that we have currently within the courthouse on some of the items. There are a couple of main items that do not have service contracts currently. The idea was that, you know, the service contract is too expensive and that, you know, what's the chances of it really happening? Well, I think that there have been a couple of situations just within the past year that have popped up that clearly it's something we need to reevaluate. For instance, when the transformer blew outside and the electricity was knocked out, was it last week or the week before?
Last.
Was it last week?
No, a week before, because I was here.
Yeah, it was a week before.
I wasn't here at all last week, so.
Yeah. We ran around to, you know, everybody ran around, got the electricity back up and running. The Penelec was actually really responsive and got the job done really quick, but it brought to light several different vulnerabilities in the system due to a lack of maintenance contracts. The generator for the jail, for instance, is a big issue where there's some maintenance issues with that, and if that for some reason were to collapse, we would be, you know, in the case of like the electricity being wiped out, it would be a major problem. So basically, the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is getting, you know, to get your take on getting a. You know, because I have to check as to whether we would need to bid that out because it could cost quite a bit to have and maybe it wouldn't, to have a company, to have several companies bid on looking at the boiler, doing an evaluation and putting an engineering document together or technical specs together to do an RFP, to have somebody work on the boiler and either replace it or do maintenance on it.
I don't believe you'd have to go out to bid for that. You could send them letters and say, this is what we want.
Yeah, that's what I thought
And
too.
have them do an on-site walkthrough, pick a day
Yeah,
if they're interested.
yeah. And that way we get an engineer to come down, look at it, talk to Doug, talk to Matt, and then get a proposal from them on what legitimately needs to be done on it. Just because something needs to be done, the system definitely is not in good shape, and there needs to be some kind of maintenance that's done on it or replacement. And I'd like to see, it would be nice to see a clear cut, have a technical document to put out so that when we have companies do it, that they can do it intelligently.
Do you have anyone in mind?
I don't have anyone in mind. I figured what we would do is put out requests to several different companies and then have them give us like even if it's a small proposal on their expertise, because and then evaluate that, because I think that getting somebody in here that we can say that we did everything we could to vet them before they came in to look at the system would be important. Just because right now we've relied a lot on the opinions of a number of different people that have a variety of expertise, but I wouldn't say that I could, make a, multi-$100,000, $200,000, $300,000 purchase based on their, opinion that the system needs to be reworked. So, does that make sense?
I'd like to know, more about each, like you said.
Yeah.
I know more.
Yeah,
I'd like to know what that would end up costing us.
Yeah, I think that's the thing the first thing would be to vet the company so that we know that they can definitively produce a good tech document on the boiler. This is another one of those things where they're, just having someone come in that just has HVAC experience or something similar, and just having them look at it and say, oh, this is a real mess, you need to do this, this, and this. I think it would be good to have something more professional. And then just the second thing is just to make you aware of the issue with the service contracts, and to talk with, when we have our first meeting, to be prepared to talk to Matt, Ken, and Doug about what, beyond the repair issues that we have, like with various elements of the courthouse and the county facilities, is come up with a risk assessment, basically, on our setup, to understand like what the maintenance team's concerns are related to maintenance within the county, because it's one of those things that historically there have been some things that have been set aside or pushed aside in order to take care of other things, and Doug, Matt, and Ken all have voiced over the past few months various concerns that they have, and I think documenting those concerns and then kind of evaluating them and seeing what we can do to mitigate them is important, just because a lot of them have to do with things that will only become a major problem when you absolutely don't want them to be a major problem, and the more we can get ahead of that and get some, maybe allocate some resources or figure out a way to take care of them, the better.
Great, that's a great idea. Like Safety and Security does those tabletop exercises. It would probably be a good idea for us to do that kind of thing with maintenance.
Yeah.
Because it's a very similar type of situation, just different application.
Yeah. Because then we can have them, and we can at least sit down, and certainly during like the budget process this year, and then also with our capital improvements, kind of look at what we could allocate to them in order to have increased security in those areas.
Great.
As far as the recycling bit goes, I have scheduled meetings with Reen Johnson and with Michelle, I can never remember her last name.
Asking?
No.
From the Solid Waste Authority?
Yeah. Just a second. Just a second. Michelle Nestor. I can never remember her name from Nestor Resources. Anyway,
She's been here for a couple meetings, right?
yeah. She's the one that we have a contract with currently to produce the solid waste plan for DEP. An agreement that was signed years ago, or several years ago. And basically, we have a meeting tomorrow to talk with Reen about the landfill in Grunderville and her research related to that, to get information from her as to, various perspectives that she has on it. That's all part of a larger effort to try to figure out a way that we can permanently close or finally close out that issue with the landfill. Because there are resources that were allocated to that haven't been used, and they're doing regular tests from 2 wells on that property. If we could figure out a way to, I'd like to figure out a way to close that down completely and then reallocate the resources associated with that somehow, or some portion of them, to recycling in the county. And so the first part of it is having a conversation with Reen about her background with that and her legal expertise related to it. She did an enormous amount of research as a previous solicitor related to it, and Dan Glock suggested that we talk with her and get as much information from her as possible. The meeting with Michelle Nestor is mostly to have a conversation about what other counties are doing related to recycling, and also to give her some ideas of some of the things that we're thinking about related to recycling within the county. This is another general informational meeting, and the goal is going to be to basically, we have to have a solid waste plan finished. We should have it finished by the end of the year, but the portion of that that's been holding it up to some degree is A, the recycling bit, and B, the situation with the landfill to some extent. But the recycling bit has been holding it up. And we have an issue in the county where a lot of municipalities, since the elimination of the tipping fee, have run into a real problem with paying for recycling. The tipping fee at the landfill was what used to pay for recycling within the county, within all the various municipalities. Now they're basically tasked with handling it themselves. This is a real problem for them, just because it is expensive to recycle ever since the recycling market basically bottomed out after the cost of timber, the cost of oil, the cost of natural gas, all of those things bottomed out. Recycling became more expensive than what you could get out of it. Anyway, all of the municipalities are having a real hard time with it, and we really need to come up with a solution that we can work with them, on. And the other part of it is to figure out a way to have a recycling solution within the county that incorporates the other elements related to, or that are recycling, but we don't currently deal with. Currently, it's bottles, or plastic, glass, paper, the basics. And part of this would be a discussion about how we can come up with a solution to take care of tires, electronics, hazardous household waste, and some of the other things related to it. So that's going to be the scope of the discussion. I've had discussions with other people related to the governor's office and related to other elements of government, state government, and I think that there's a lot of potential here to figure out a way to get the support of the state on this project. especially if we can figure out a way to make it, a comprehensive solution, and then also figure out a way to incorporate it would be wonderful to incorporate some type of, well, I don't want to go into too much detail, but incorporate some other elements into it that'll make it attractive to the state. Try to make it comprehensive, try to make it cost effective, and try to take care of a lot of things that we're not doing now, and do it in as affordable a way as possible. So I invited you guys both to the meeting with Michelle, if you're available, and to the meeting with Reen. So, and it's important to note that those are, informational meetings. So we'll be asking a lot of questions, getting a lot of information from them on their thoughts based on their expertise.
Making no decisions.
Making no decision whatsoever. No formal decision will be made at any of those meetings. I think that's it related to that. And then I got a resume from WCCBI for someone who's interested in a internship, and I think that this is a good opportunity to start to kind of finally get ramped up with this internship program within the county. So what I'd like to do is put together a proposal for you guys to have some kind of start up some type of internship program, at least with this one person, potentially, if they're willing to do it. And then also start engaging, I know Ben has been engaging some other universities in the region, but to start engaging universities in the region to start to really get this thing up and running. So the first thing is to schedule 30-minute meetings with the department heads individually, to talk to them about what resources they have, or that they can, where they could utilize an internship. I think that starting with the offices within the courthouse, the department heads within the courthouse locally, I think it's the best place to start. But I think this is something that, if I can find one department, for instance, that'll be willing to run the pilot program with one intern, and then maybe expand it from there once we get it established, that would be a good way to begin this. Yeah, the resume was very good. I keep meaning to scan it. I haven't had a chance to because I've been out.
Glad you got that. She did look fantastic, and we have a couple of employees that know her very well.
Oh,
So I've already checked up on her, and they all have only glowing things to say.
Good. I haven't had a chance to do anything on records management. And then the next thing that I want to do, one of the next big things I want to do is to start scheduling the quarterly budget meetings and also the monthly meetings with assessment and some other ones. The quarterly budget meetings I think are going to be really, really important. So I'm going to try to get those scheduled soon. Hopefully this next week. I think that's all I had. There's other stuff, but that's plenty.
Okay, well, the number one on my list is the Work Release Center, and we do have some new developments in regard to that. Our subcommittee met 2 weeks ago, and Bill Gallagher, John Paracini, and myself, and we did have a discussion with Shar Uber at the Warren State Hospital, and they have drastically reduced the price, and they do want to talk to us further in regard to the lease of the property. So I have asked John Collins from the jail to put some real hard numbers together for us so that we can evaluate whether or not this really makes sense for us to be going the next mile with this. It looks very promising in regard to the price that they offered us, and I'm pretty excited to to move forward on that. So once I have the numbers from John, we can sit down and discuss, whether or not this is a reality that we should be looking forward to. But it was pretty exciting news, the price that they were willing to drop to.
Half?
Yes.
Awesome.
Mhm.
That's what we were targeting.
Yeah. So that's an ongoing discussion that the subcommittee, we're continuing to investigate all the possibilities there. Any questions on that?
One of the things I'll send you, because again, this is stuff that I got to scan in. Last week I went to the Behavioral Health Task Force as a part of CCAP, and they had a lot of great information on recidivism programs, reentry programs, and a number of other things. And there was a lot of discussion about that. So I'll scan that in and send it to you. And I think that that ties in perfectly with the whole idea of a work release center.
Yeah, I'd be anxious to see that, and also if we could have that and then share that with the prison board meeting.
Yeah, I was going to send it to everybody and send it to the judges too, and the probation at Carl McKee, because I think that if, like, hypothetically, in a situation where you do a work release center, if you can incorporate those other things into it, make it a reentry center, or and have those other services attached to it, it definitely, that's another channel where we could find funding through the state to help fund it.
So moving on from there, in regard to recycling, which you've discussed, Dan Glotz, I've been in touch with Dan, and he is moving forward with scheduling the other events for the county, the recycling event that we held in the past. We're going to offer that on a regular basis, like every 3 months, and Dan is in the process of getting those events scheduled. I would also ask that he look into someone who can also recycle tires, and he said he's doing that. I'm also very involved with an attorney working on the IDA, reviving that and bringing that back under county control. So I'm working toward that end.
An attorney is not our solicitor?
He is not your solicitor. I've mentioned it to the solicitor. I've also brought it up to our labor attorney, Mark Wassel, and the Knox Law Firm, who's helping me find information out in regard to that. I've been working on 3 different personnel issues, also again consulting with our labor attorney. There's 3 different issues that they will be providing us written letters so that we can use those letters in these situations. I'd just assume not go into anything more than that at this point on that. Over the last week, I've had a lot of constituents reaching out to me in regard to just different matters. And, from my former position, a lot of what I did was constituent outreach, and I guess maybe that's why I'm getting the phone calls, but I just want to encourage the citizens of the county that, we are a resource to you. If there's, you have a problem and you don't know where else to turn, you can always reach out to us. We may not be able to help you if it's not a county situation, but we can certainly direct you. And one of these situations did happen to be a county concern, so I'm dealing with that. But in all the other contacts that have been coming my way, I have been able to direct them. So use us as a resource for information, because that's, of course, what we're here for. In regard to the boiler and the roof, I've also been contacted by 2 other people who formerly have had involvement in the boiler and the roof, and both of those gentlemen would like to meet with me to discuss further the situation in both regards with the roof, but one particularly has some information on the boiler as well. So I'm scheduling those meetings this week and hopefully can provide more information to you in regard to you wanting to consult with an engineering firm for the specs for our RFP. I think that maybe this could be helpful to us going forward in that direction. Also, I have worked on a drug and alcohol policy for the county and sent that over to our labor attorney. He is working on that probably as we speak today. He said he'd probably have that over to me today or tomorrow. His concern was that unions that we deal with, there's 3 unions for the county that we deal with our employees, and he just wanted to make sure those all coincided with the draft policy that I've given him. Also, in speaking with him, the labor attorney, he made a suggestion if we are going to provide a policy to our county employees in regard to an electronics policy, that I reach out to the open records officer at the state, and they provide quite frequently seminars or even telephone conferences, or they may even come up and help us train staff and could help us in a big way in adopting a policy for our county. So I would like to reach out to this gentleman in the open records office, and maybe even if it's more convenient for him, have a teleconference so we can adopt some electronics communication policy for the county. We currently have something in place, but it's in need of updating. And let's look at my list. We're having a meeting soon with Warren County School District administrators in regard to vacant property. It's something that I feel we might want to consider some sort of a collaborative effort for the county and the school district. I know that we have a need for record storage space. Maybe that's a potential for discussion there. Polling on the site, I still need to work with Jeff in regard to that. I still think that's a really good idea, putting a poll out there, or maybe even ask your constituent a question, putting something out on the site that lets us be more aware of what our constituency's concerns are. Funeral services, I don't think we've made any progress in regard to that. Warren County Conservation District phones, Bill Gallagher and his team have been extremely busy with the porting of the new lines over to the jail and the sheriff's office. I don't know as they've made any progress in regard to the Conservation District phone lines, but that's certainly on the list, and I know Bill will get up there as soon as he can. Other than that, I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, do we want to go through anything in the...
We have the election IQ, which we already covered.
Yep.
I think everything else is pretty cut and dry.
Is fine. Independent auditors is fine. Yeah, I have no issue with the other things. In terms of board updates, I'm embarrassed to admit that I actually missed the last Salvation Army board meeting. I forgot to put it on my calendar, so I don't have an update on that. Northwest Commission's board meeting is on Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, so I'll have an update then. Workforce Development Board continues to be a time suck for me as we continue to work through the operator and Title I provider agreements for career links and such going forward. High Ed did not have a board meeting. LEPC, I already gave you an update on that. EMS hasn't had a meeting since we last spoke. I would note that Senator Brooks came to the county last week. Yeah, last week. And she met with her 3 townships that are in her district. Actually, maybe 4. But either way, Columbus, Spring Creek, and Eldred had met most of their township supervisors there. And I attended and kind of helped facilitate a conversation about the various projects that each township is working on, which mostly amounted to things related to bridges and updates to their buildings. I thought it was a beneficial time for everybody. The senator got a good chance to hear on the ground what's going on in townships, and she also has a lot of experience in local government, so she was able to offer some insight and help to the township supervisors. The only thing that came out of it from the commissioners may be some letters of support as they apply for money from the state, but other than that, I don't think there's anything really to bring up to the board. Do you have board updates?
I missed the Visitors Bureau board meeting due to the flooding. My family was underwater. Spent that evening taking things up to higher ground. And then the Warren County Conservation District meeting was Tuesday, and I was ill. Other than that, there's not been any board meetings except for the Area Agency on Aging. And of course, they're still working on their concerns with the new laws that will take place in 2019, and their concern with going to that system. There's, I forget what the name of the company, Maximus, I believe it is. There's some real concerns across the state with Maximus, and they discuss those. Other than that, my board meetings will be next week, so a couple of them.
Do you have any?
No, the only thing I'll say is this Saturday is the midwinter benefit for the library theater. For the library. It is not at the library theater. It will be at the library on Saturday. I should know the time. I do not. I believe it's like 6, 7.
I have it on my calendar as...
Anyway, that's a big event. I'll be selling 50/50 tickets there.
Saturday at 6.
I think it's at 6.
6 to
I have it on
9.
my calendar, yeah.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Department and committee updates. The only one we had last week was safety and security. We mostly discussed upgrading panic buttons and other ways to spend our PCOMP grant for $15,000, which we need to apply. We can start taking installments anytime we want, but I believe the deadline is either May or June. So they had some good recommendations. Again, panic buttons are kind of the thing that we'd like to update at this point. And that will probably be done in conjunction with replacing the phones in this building, so that we're not having to run multiple things. In fact, it may be on the phones. We'll see. But that was that, and the discussion about single point of entry was probably the main topics of interest there. I don't think we've had any other department meetings. On my schedule, on Thursday, we're going to Jefferson County. I'm meeting with the city on Friday and potentially Representative Rapp about the RCAP application. I'm having my first meeting with one of our department heads in order to do the performance evaluation that we just made. I believe that's Friday. I'm also teaching a small class to the 4-H Council tomorrow. Remember that there's the election event that is at the DeFreeze Center on Thursday evening. Midwinter Ball was already mentioned. And then I wanted to warn you all that I'll be in California on a business trip all of next week. Well, not all of next week, but most of next week.
Oh God, what are we gonna do?
What's that?
I said, what are we gonna do?
I don't know, but I'm going to be enjoying the nice sun of California while you all... Well, actually, this isn't that bad.
Well, if it's still there and hasn't been washed away.
Yeah. But this is... well, it's not county business related, but I'll be calling in for everything. So I shouldn't have any issues with quorums or anything like that. It's not like it won't be available, it's just that I had 1 or 2 days of business meetings, and I thought at that point I might as well go out early, stay a couple days. So I'll be available by phone and everything. Just remember that it's 3 hours behind, so please don't call me at 8:30 Eastern. I think that's it.
So you just said call you at 8:30?
No, I did
What was
not.
that?
All right, I don't think we have anything else unless you have something else. All right, do you have something?
Well, I do. Thought about it after you said flooding issues. If anybody suffered flooding issues and they are veterans, especially a lot of them had flooding in areas that were not subject to the insurance. If they're veterans, we may be able to get them a state grant to help.
That's good to know. Thanks, Ed.
So is that only for people who don't have flood insurance? Or is it
Even
could be
those that
everybody?
have flood insurance, depending on what the damage was, what the insurance company's going to pay, and what they have left to pay out of pocket can be substantial. So
Does that
in
also-
some cases, we can get the state to pony up as much as $2,000.
Wow.
Great.
Does that also cover widows?
Yes. Widows of veterans, as long as they did not get remarried.
Right.
The veterans themselves, used to be they had to be wartime, but that was taken out.
Great. Okay. Thanks.
All right,
Hold on.